What keeps you up at night? Maybe excitement around a new activity or an event? How about anticipation for an upcoming trip or a vacation? How about fear? I lost a lot of sleep to fear when I graduated from college. I was afraid I wouldn't get to be the person that I always wanted to be. You ever decide that you want to be a different person? Not some other living person like a famous movie star, just a different version of you. But aside from a few snapshots in your mind or some fleeting glimpse of what that new you looks like, you can't ever quite get enough momentum behind your thoughts or figure out the right first step or the appropriate catalyst to bring that vision into reality. That's the situation I found myself in. This vision of myself, combined with the motivation provided by fear that I was not going to get to be that person was slipping away. And that desire took me on quite a journey across the country and across sports where I dove headfirst into something I knew nothing about. That personal mission led me to, of all places, a professional NASCAR pit crew. Now, I know for some of you, you think about NASCAR, cars going in circles, and you just don't get it. It's all right, I know you're out there. We still be friends, but I like to begin by telling everybody that NASCAR and the environment that pit crews operate in produce a super competitive and hyper teamwork-oriented environment. And it's helpful if we compare NASCAR to other kinds of sports to better understand it. So if we look at basketball and football, in those sports, you're guaranteed the length of the game. No matter how badly you're getting beat, you have every second for the length of the game to try and put points on the board, take the lead, make something happen, win the game. In NASCAR, the longest race is 600 miles. It takes over 4 hours to run the event. You can make a big enough mistake on the very first lap or the very first pit stop that you're out of the race. You damage your car beyond the ability to fix it. So it gets drug off the track by a tow truck. You pack it up in your hauler, a big 18-wheeler, along with all of your stuff, and you go home. And that event goes on without you. I've been in places like Brooklyn, Michigan, Dover, Delaware, upstate New York, Watkins Glen. Our team experienced one of those early wrecks. I was watching the end of that same race, showered up on my couch at home back in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's a very surreal feeling. So I don't know what you think about crazy NASCAR, but teams have to be safe and conservative just to have a chance to make it to the end because there's no guarantee. At the same time, we jump back to basketball and football, one-on-one competition, my team versus your team. Your team's having a bad day, but my team's having a worse day. Even with poor performance, your team can win. Ugly win or a sloppy win, but win nonetheless. In NASCAR, with up to 40 teams competing, same event, same time, competing against 39 other pit crews, you have a bad day, you'll finish 20th. A worse day, as far back as 40th. It's only those handful of teams that can set themselves up for the win, push themselves to the limit, people and equipment, and just a tick beyond at the right moment that have a chance to set themselves up for the win against the rest of the series. So what makes NASCAR interesting for me, what makes it more than just cars going in circles, is this interplay, safe and conservative, just to have the chance to make it to the end, versus pushing to your limits to try and set yourself up for the win against what amounts to everyone else on Earth trying to do it better than you. Another interesting characteristic comes through the pit crew. Pit crews don't succeed through peak performance. It's not the best players on the crew that determine the team's level of output. Pit crews succeed by identifying bottlenecks, shoring up weaknesses, and eliminating mistakes. Simple example. Oh, perfect. Here's my 5-person pit crew. We're going to look at just one pit stop as an example. And on this particular stop, 4 out of 5 crew members do it just right, finish up their work in today's standards of really good time. They finish up in 11 seconds. Sir, your name? Jamie messes up. Little mistake, sorry, dude. Little mistake adds 2 extra seconds to his work, finishes in 13 seconds. Now, we can't disavow that 13. We can't rely on the strength of the majority, the 4/5 that did it just right. We don't have even a way of somehow combining or averaging those times together for everyone on the same stopwatch. That's a 13-second pit stop. And in pit crew world, where a few extra tenths of a second can influence an entire race, 2 extra seconds at the wrong time can be devastating. Now, simple math, we'll take that example up a level and look at an entire race. And here's my 5-person crew. At this particular race, we do 5 pit stops. Each pit stop works out exactly like I just explained. 4 out of 5 just right, 1 person, little bobble, 2 extra seconds with the mistake. Each pit stop works out exactly the same way, except a different person makes the one and only mistake. Now, at the end of the day, when we are evaluating crew performance, my crew, and rightfully so, feels pretty good about their day. They each made only 1 mistake all day long. You're human, it happens, nice job. But because they each made that 1 mistake on a separate pit stop, when I look at the overall timesheet, I see 5 terrible 13-second pit stops. No doubt the overall race team's limit in performance that day came from poor performance in the pits. I don't know too many other types of activities where individually everyone can feel really good about their time, their performance, but yet the overall performance of the team is terrible. That's how important it is for pickers to identify bottlenecks, shore up weaknesses, eliminate mistakes. It's very much a bottom-up approach to success. Can't rely on the peak performers. Little less than 2 years into my career, I finally got a chance to do something about it when I was picked up by Hendrick Motorsports. Hendrick Motorsports is NASCAR's modern-day dynasty, more wins and championships than any other team in the modern era. The names that I've worked with during my 28 years at Hendrick, names like Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, both multi-time champions, Dale Earnhardt Jr., NASCAR's most popular driver, 2020 Series champion Chase Elliott. Hendrick has a long, storied history of success with multiple teams and multiple drivers. Hendrick Motorsports is the type of organization that Bill Campbell would understand very well. It's a very supportive organization. It's a very emotionally connected organization. It's a very candid organization. You know where you stand. And that's all nice. It makes it sound like camp, but it's not. The question that they ask at Hendrick most often is, what do you need? What do you need to be successful? How can we as an organization with our limited resources, all organizations have limited resources, how can we help you succeed? And that sounds great. But there's another part to that question that goes unspoken. The full statement is something like this: what do you need to be successful? How can we help you? Because ultimately, you are responsible for your own performance, and our expectations are set. Expectations of Hendrick Motorsports, simple: win races, win championships. And not only to win, but to win the right way. To be a supportive and connected teammate. To treat your corporate sponsors, big deal in NASCAR, treat your corporate sponsors with respect. And all of that starts from the very top, from the founder, Mr. Rick Hendrick, all the way down to the newest employee. So when I was new, even though relatively new to NASCAR, brand new to Hendrick, the question got asked of me, Andy, what do we need to make pit stops better? And I said, we need athletes. That's how I said it. What I was thinking at the time was, we need athletes. I'm pretty sure it was really important in this world that I came from, Division I college sports. It doesn't seem to hold the same value here. But you get your 30 seconds in front of the boss, you got to sell your stuff. So I said, we got to have athletes. If we now fast forward through the years at Hendrick and the fact that we were successful in this new endeavor with pit crews, our department at Hendrick and the NASCAR world evolved in this way. There's coaches that teach pit stop fundamentals. There's practices. There is time to practice. When someone says there's not enough time for something, they just mean it's not a priority. But I'll tell you what, in NASCAR, the priority is winning races. And anything that can help you win races, there better be a priority for. Practicing pit stops, getting better in the pits, can help you win races. It is a priority. They just had a different culture in place for how to deal with it. The other part of this whole crazy thing was how, even though I didn't know much about it, I got the ability, I got the tether, and sometimes, you know, enough rope to hang yourself. I got the tether to do something about it. And this pit department idea at Hendrick was born. So the coaches and the trainers, injury and rehab therapists, fitness and conditioning folks for programs, nutritionists, chiropractors, sports psychologists, not only for peak performance, but for health and wellness, mental cognition, mental health. It's a grind. The season is 10 months long, 39 events. Athletes and NASCAR athletes are relatively older still, but they're 20s and 30s. Relationships, children, all of that need that mental support to keep going. So we built this system based on an athletic world, and then we ended up adding scouting and recruiting, the last piece of the puzzle. Once we had this system created under this different culture, this different paradigm, we went out looking for better raw materials. Graduating college athletes from different sports. The ask was, are you willing to redefine yourself, put everything you were on the line in order to try and build a new you, perhaps accomplish your dream of being a paid professional athlete, but try it out in NASCAR. And ESPN did a piece, this is my last video, ESPN did a piece on it a while back, and it shows the pit department and a recruiting event at Hendrick Motorsports. Every facility that you see here is on the campus at the Hendrick race shop. Every voice you hear is a Hendrick Motorsports coach. So let's take a look at how things work today. Every 10th of a second in a pit stop is intimately linked to the 10th of a second before and the 10th of a second after.
You have to have foot quickness, body balance, agility.
That really requires the elite athlete, the guys that want to be the stars, the guys that want the ball in the pressure situation. Here we go, keep it going, guys, keep it going, looking good.
Nice, using those legs. There you go.
Cup racing at Hendrick Motorsports isn't varsity football at a high school, it's not intramurals, it's a professional sports program. You guys are flying, man. Hey, good job today, guys.
So we want to hold the rotational mass back here. It's the left hand that a lot of guys forget and the gun starts turning on them. Take your hands to the lug nuts, hands to the studs. So you got to punch and get off of them, okay? We don't have a whole lot of time. We got really one day to try to see your skill set.
All right, the other thing you got to pay attention to is this. It will kick your ass.
1, 2, set.
So this is a good space right here?
Yep.
The developmental program is like single A baseball. We want to create a farm system so we have the same type of athlete that we can pluck and pull from our 4 cup teams all the way down to our young guys.
It's like butter, man.
I saw, no one particularly stand out like a superstar, but then I didn't really see any weaknesses either.
Athletically, I really like number 8. He's got what you want. He's got good size and strength. The tire pull and all that stuff was good.
What we're going to do next is figure out where some of these prospects might fit into our system. What I was fortunate enough to bring into NASCAR was this athletic mentality. And over time, I came to call it over-the-wall thinking. I chose over-the-wall. It's a nod to NASCAR and pit crews. But if you say think like an athlete, people tend to go with the rah-rah, high energy, get in the gym, smack on the butt. And that's all great, big proponent of all that. But this is not that. This is a problem-solving approach. And this is my message to all of you in the audience this morning. This is the value you have wherever you go from here, regardless of what you know about the doors that you are about to step through. You are all exquisitely trained in how to solve problems like athletes, how to think like athletes. And when you're around a lot of athletes, you think that's how the world thinks, but it's not. It's a tremendous value, and I don't want you to forget it. I don't want you to unlearn it. I want you to push athletic mentality and athletic problem solving through. I'm going to mention very briefly 4 things. We talk about a dozen things when we talk about how athletes think and problem solve. Very quickly, I'll mention 4. The first is iteration. Fancy Stanford word. I got to throw one out since we're here at Stanford. Practice and repetition. Athletes just call it practice. You've got to figure out a way to roll up your sleeves and practice with what you're doing. It doesn't have to just be in a physical world. It could be a new bank loan, a new HR policy, a new marketing strategy. Figure out a way to practice it. You'd never diagram up some football plays, everyone looks at it, agrees, hey, this is great, and then go run them. Have to practice with them. And in that practice plan, it's going to change. You're going to evolve, adapt, and put something out that's not only better, but different from when you started. And when we think athletically, it's all common sense. Forget about NASCAR, forget about the NFL. If you bring a 6-year-old to their first soccer league, what are the questions in your head? What team is she on? When are practices? When are the games? When are the competitions? Imagine if you heard something like this. Hey, look, these kids, they know how to run. They know how to kick a ball better than we do at this point. What we're going to do is have a meeting. We're going to talk about how to play soccer, the rules and regulations. We're going to generate a lot of buy-in, a lot of enthusiasm, and then we're going to set them loose, let them go out on the field, kick the ball around for a while, and then when they're tired, take them home. It's the worst soccer league ever. But yet, in our adult knowledge-based world, when we get out of common sense athletic thinking, we have meetings, we have new edicts, we generate buy-in, enthusiasm, and there's even a term for it, then hit the ground running. Yeah, okay, that'll produce some level of performance, and you can improve from there, but athletically, there's something missing here. Don't forget the importance of practice, and force it in there. There's never time for it. Second is coaching and mentoring. And this is simple. We get it athletically. We understand the intimate relationship between player and coach. We also understand when things, a term like lost the locker room. Man, might as well pack your bags. There's emotional connections with reasons we're okay with someone looking over our shoulder. You have to establish those emotional connections, the social bonds, and then different perspectives, different points of view. Yeah, man, athletically, bring it on. I know that coach has my best interest at heart. But I also want to say, not you because you're the best one, now you're the coach and we all have to listen to everything you say. In truly high-performing teams, the role of player and coach swaps around. You make a suggestion, the team follows your suggestion. Well, that's what a coach does, and that's what players do. Now you build on that suggestion, take us in a slightly different direction after we've worked with it a little bit. Well, that's what a coach does, and that's what players do. It swaps around. Again, communication, social bonds, safety, inclusion, player and coach swapping around, but important. Third thing I'll mention is eliminating distractions. From well-meaning parents and grandparents on the sidelines of a grade school soccer game all the way up to the NFL, great athletes have to eliminate all the noise around them and concentrate not just on the goal, and Dr. Rice mentioned it a little bit this morning, not just on the goal, that's the touchdown, but that could be 80 yards away. It's the next part of the process and your role in it. And if your thoughts go anywhere beyond that, distraction. I'll also say about distraction, if your ideas are truly game-changing, you will be booed. You'll be booed until you show everyone how your ideas can benefit them. In NASCAR, when we brought in these outsiders, these athletes, we were taking away positions from guys that had paid their dues and had earned it. A lot of boos. The performance came later, and the connection came later when these skilled craftspeople worked in the shop. Now all of a sudden you pair a good driver, a good car, good race strategy, all of that, with a better and better pit crew and gain an advantage in the pits. Now there's more top fives, more wins, more championships, and more recognition, bonus money and all that, but more recognition for everyone on the team. Now you get the connection of what a great pit crew, however you put it together, can do for a race team. But at first there's boos. You have to work through the boos. And then finally, the last one, and I don't mean for this to sound inspirational, it's really more aspirational than inspirational. Athletes, you do the impossible. Your work is to do the impossible. And it's not in a groping, desperation, all or nothing sort of a way, but a baseball or softball player, a batting average a few points higher than your best ever per game, per season. Free throw percentage, basketball, best percentage points per game, per season than you've ever done. A pit crew, pit stop, 1/10 of a second better than you've ever done. And in order to achieve those milestones of doing the impossible, it circles back to the other three: practice and repetition, coaching and mentoring, different points of view, and eliminating the distractions, canceling out the booze. But that's your job. It's a day in the office. Do the impossible. And when you don't, pick yourself up, dust off, do it again the next day. And then after a while, you bump up, and then you look back and wow, we've really made some progress here. But that mentality, that mindset is what athletes do. It's how we go to work every day. Don't lose it. Apply it to wherever you go. Final thought in wrapping up, a quick look at my logo. On the surface, it seems very simple. One person helping another, teamwork and all of that stuff. Let me give you an alternate explanation. Both of those figures are you. The top figure is representative of your own ideas. If you put effort and energy and trust into your own ideas, you'll be able to climb over any wall, bust through any barrier. You'll be able to do anything. Thanks, everybody.